Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode 148. I'm your host, Brian Professor Patterson. With me, as always, my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella.
Professor!
You got your Comic-Con.
I got my Comic-Con jersey finally in the mail. It's a little big. It's a little floaty.
So this is the one you had to order through the mail. Were they out of it at the shop at Comic-Con, or you realized after the fact that you wanted it?
I was so focused on getting t-shirts for the kids, and I really like this sweatshirt that they had. It's got that logo, your hat logo on the sweatshirt. Yeah. And I fell in love with that, and I got that. I was sleeping on this, and then you walked in here with your Padres jersey from Comic-Con on, and I was like, damn it, I should have got that jersey. And then I got an email from them about like a discount off of surprise.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of their swag for the year. Yeah.
So I jumped on it. Yeah.
How much of a discount was it?
I think it was like 15%.
Yeah.
So not bad.
And now you have something to wear to bed.
Well, I wore this to the Fairfax Comic-Con.
Yeah. So you went to the local Comic-Con this past weekend.
Yeah. At Fairfax, at the Dulles Town Center, or the Dulles Expo Center. Yeah.
How was it?
A little lackluster.
Really?
Oh,
a little different than San Diego?
It's a lot different than San Diego, but I was surprised at how many cosplay people were there. I think they did have some kind of contest.
So I was a couple of nice pictures.
Yeah, I mean there was some cool cosplay there, and there was a whole wall of like Star Wars. A lot of people that build droids and build like things like that,
like
and
animatronics and
animatronic droids and stuff. There was a whole section of that. And then there was like a squadron, like cosplay group from Star Wars and stuff. And the pictures that I showed you really didn't do it any justice, because there were some people there. It wasn't super packed at all on Sunday, at least, when I went. And it was a lot of anime stuff and a lot of people like fantasy, like little trinkets and artists and things like that,
like Warhammer and none of that stuff.
No, more like fairies and and like water nymphs and things of that nature, that like a enchanted forest type stuff. Tons of people that like draw and paint that kind of stuff, and we're selling all that. So it's been interesting.
A little different. You sent me a text from there, and I was teasing. I guess I assumed it wasn't as crowded as San Diego. And you're like, no, and the crowd is very different than the one in San Diego too.
Big time, yeah. It was a lot different than San Diego for sure. Oh yeah, a lot tamer. And then the only thing I did buy is I don't know if you remember in No Way Home, Spider-Man, he sets up on his desk the Emperor from the Star Wars action figure that
the Lego set,
the little Lego Emperor that he sets up on. That him and Ned were building the Death Star, and he kept that little Lego Emperor. I did buy that. A mini little Emperor.
Excellent.
Yeah, it'll be on the set next week.
I tell you, they had, and I mentioned this last show briefly, and there was a little bit of news that came out this week in regard to this, but they have a lot to do with that franchise, and I think very similar to what Marvel's been going through the last couple of years. They need to recapture their audience. They need to get their audience to kind of have faith in what they're doing at the studio. When Disney bought Lucasfilm, I think there was a lot of excitement because some money was going to be thrown into the product, and they were going to be making new movies and television shows and all kinds of other things. And I think everything they've done since Disney's bought them has been met with very mixed reviews and some very bad reviews. And I think the Star Wars fandom community out there is, I'd say, a little
disenchanted.
Angry. Disenchanted a little bit right now. Similar to what we could say the same thing about Marvel here recently, but Yeah, I mean, I think there's some faith that they need to recoup there.
More so Sony, my feeling. But yeah, I think some people running the Star Wars and are driving that IP into the ground like a like blowing up the Death
Yeah, the
Star.
news that came out yesterday or today, I think it was, that the Acolyte television series that was out on Disney Plus here recently was officially canceled.
Hmm.
And it was a very controversial series for many different reasons. They did a lot of things with the intellectual property and told a story that I think stretched a lot of what the kind of lore really
Yeah.
allows, and it really angered a lot of fans. And
Diehard fans.
yeah, and I think there were, again, I think there were some people who were angered by some directions they took, and then others who just were like, "What? It's just a bad story." And I think, unfortunately, we've said this about all of the comic book movies and TV shows that we review. Um, it doesn't matter how you choose to tell a message as long as you tell a good story.
Sure.
And I think that series specifically suffered from bad storytelling, bad writing, bad story, bad plot, bad villain, bad, very predictable. And it seemed like they had an agenda versus
Yeah.
just telling a good story.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've seen that way too often
Yeah.
in what we review on the comic book side, is that when the agenda gets in the way of good storytelling around good characters, you're just not going to have good product. It just suffers, unfortunately.
And part of that agenda was trying to capture a new audience, a younger audience, a different audience. And when you do that, like Marvel did, trying to capture younger, newer, just a completely different demographic for their audience, you alienate that core
The core
base
demographic.
of core demographic that is your bread and butter. I think Deadpool and Wolverine illustrated this very well, where you can cater to the core demographic and talk to your fanboys, your ultra geeks, your comic book aficionados, and then the others, the ancillary fans will come and gravitate to that if you have a good story
Right.
and good product.
I
So,
mean, we've said this all along that, there's been a very obvious heavy push at the company to promote um, female specifically, superhero characters. And the way that Deadpool and Wolverine did it was so tasteful. And I've said this before, so many of the most popular and powerful, not just powerful from a power set perspective, but powerful from a character perspective, female heroes were in that X-Men universe, or are in that X-Men universe. And
yeah.
Marvel has not had access to them for some time. But you look at X-23 / Daphne Keene, would you be upset to see her in a project going forward?
Well,
No.
no. And I made this very clear on X in several responses from this. I said, develop her
Right.
X-23,
Right.
but a lot of people are saying, oh, she should be the new Wolverine. No,
No.
she should not be the new
No.
Wolverine.
No.
She should be developed, and I'd love to
She
see
should
her
be
more
X-23.
X-23.
Well,
We got to get away
you want to
from that.
do a New Mutants project, right? You
Right.
want to do a Young Mutants team.
Well, they're talking about Young Avengers. Well, why not have her in the Young Avengers? No. Develop her
Right.
as
Put her on the New
X-23.
Mutants. Put her,
Yeah.
put her on, a new version of X-Force. Have Cable lead X-Force or whatever there's lots of things you do with that character. But the point is, she's popular. She did a great job playing that character when she was a kid, let alone now that she's a teenager. Keep her around. I mean, I'd love to see the character, but again,
Okay.
don't make her Wolverine.
Don't make her
Yeah,
Wolverine.
that, I
That doesn't
mean,
make sense.
no.
So things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to push those things upon it, they just don't work. And I hear Brie Larson got mouthy and said some things about how there wasn't a strong female character in Deadpool Wolverine, and kind of was mouthing off. This is just allegedly.
Well, you heard some of the rumors about why she was mouthing off, is that she had filmed a cameo for the movie and Ryan Reynolds refused to use it.
Of course.
Right.
She's coming off of the worst movie in the history of Marvel. The
Both
Marvels.
her and Tatiana Maslany, She-Hulk,
Yeah.
had filled cameos for the movie, and neither of them were used. And now they're both mouthing off of how, because they're women, they were shunned or pushed to the side or whatever, right?
Well, and those cameos could have pushed that movie over $1 billion. Oh, wait
Oh,
a
wait a
minute.
minute. Hang on a second.
Didn't
Which
need those cameos. I
we'll
mean,
get there.
I think they did a brilliant job putting that together. Some people didn't like the movie. Some people thought it was too silly or whatever. But
Oh,
I think a lot of
my
people
poor
in the
father-in-law saw it this weekend, and I was trying to give him the backstory and the history behind it and everything else. And he goes, "Okay, so who's this Deadpool guy?" And I'm like, "Oh boy,
oh
you're in
boy,
trouble."
here we go.
And he was like, "I needed you. I didn't see it with him, but he's like, man, I needed you sitting next to me explaining everything because I had no idea what was going on." I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
which is understandable.
sure.
And again, that was some of the prep I did with my wife when I took her to see it. Is that we had, as a family, watched a lot of the Wolverine movies and the original X-Men series that Hugh Jackman was in, because she was interested. So we watched a bunch of those together. And so she kind of knew who the character, she couldn't watch Logan, actually. As a matter of fact, when Laura shows up the first time and is like ripping everybody to shreds, she's like, I just can't take it anymore. So it was a little too violent for her. But that being said, she kind of understood everything. And then I said, look, if we're going to go see this movie, you have to at least see Deadpool 1. She had never seen Deadpool 1 or 2.
Wow.
And I said, you have to like know who this character is and
Yeah.
understand. And she's like, okay. And we watched it, and she liked it. She didn't like love Deadpool 1, but she's like, okay, now I get who he is. I get
Okay.
the character.
Right.
Right. Right.
That's important.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You kind of got to know some of the motivation there, right? Backstory.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, we've been talking for 10 minutes now. Let's get into the show. First, we want to thank the listeners that bring the show, our patrons, patreon.com/supertalk. If you want to become a member, really helps us out. Really appreciate all our patrons out there. Thank you for your support. Let's jump into the review section. And one thing I wanted to talk about, which I know you haven't seen, but I mentioned to you, for those of you out there that have watched the Umbrella Academy series on Netflix, their final season just came out. Season 4 just came out last week.
Those that are watching live on TikTok, give us your comments. Has anybody seen it? What'd you guys think of it? We're gonna kind of give a quick review of it.
So both Titanium and I, when the original show first season came out, we were blown away by how good it was. And this is based off of I think it's Dark Horse Comics does Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
But it is based on the comic book, so it kind of fits here. But the first season was fantastic.
Yep.
Second season was really good.
Yep.
The third season last year, or I think it was last year, a year and a half ago, kind of like
Huge letdown.
it was a bit of a letdown, but it was also kind of, I saw that as, all right, they're putting the series to bed. They
Right.
kind of like, exposed the fact that the father was an alien and he was, protecting, the universe from this multiversal thing that was going on and everything. And at the end of season 3, they all lose their powers, and you're kind of like, okay, what's going to happen here? And then this season picks up with them like 5 years down the road. They haven't had their powers for 5 years, and they've all kind of gone off on their own, living their own lives. And as you can imagine, they do get their powers back, through some circumstance. And they all end up coming together to solve some theoretical problem. But this season was just bad.
To be honest,
Bad.
after we discussed it and you told me your thoughts on it, I was so off put. I'm not even going to start it.
It was just
Like,
bad.
I'm not even going to watch
it. Was
it.
really slow, contrived. It seemed, for me, the best character in that show was Five.
Yeah.
And
he's like 30 now, isn't he?
He's much older than he was when he first started the show as a teenager. I won't get into the character, spare everybody the backstory there, but he's really the character is like 65 years old, but he was trapped in a dystopian future for many years, and he doesn't age, and that's kind of part of his powers. Anyway, but they kind of focused a little bit on him, and they had this like love triangle between him and who's number 2? I can't even remember his name. The guy with the knives. It was just weird, and there was this time travel thing. It just didn't work. And I watched it, and they did announce this is the last season. They're not doing any more. This is it. And at the end of it, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of glad that's over.
Yeah. Okay.
I was not very pleased with it. But though, Umbrella Academy fans out there, if you've got comments or you have your feedback, please let us know, because that, again, just the way I felt about things, but you might have loved it. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
We did get a new trailer drop last week for Kraven the Hunter. We know this movie is coming out from Sony. And it's been highly publicized that while they had designs on setting up their own Spider-Man universe centered around Venom, the Venom character, Tom Hardy's Venom, but then also bringing in Morbius and somehow, some way, Michael Keaton's Vulture, and they were trying to establish the Sinister Six, and they were doing this Kraven movie. We saw the Madam Web movie, which was completely horrible, and I still have yet to watch it, by the way. That's how bad it was. And it's but it was really terrible, horrible at the box office. They pretty much have said, look, yeah, we're scrapping everything.
Yeah.
So this movie,
I'm really surprised this is actually hitting the theaters.
Yeah, this movie, and you and I have made some predictions about this, but this movie was delayed, I think, like 9 months. I think it was supposed to come out like in February or March of this year, right?
I thought it was a year, but yeah.
You're close to a year.
Yeah.
It's got to be at least close to a year now. The original trailer, not good. You and I had we reviewed it long time ago. We had massive concerns, specifically around how they were making Kraven out to be an anti-hero and making him more of a hero than a villain, which again they've done with Tom Hardy's Venom.
Yeah.
And we've seen this done with Black Adam in the past, which didn't work out very well. It's
No.
like, stop making these bad guys good. I mean, and the first trailer made it like a movie about this guy like overcoming his upbringing.
His father is the bad
and
guy.
His father's influence and becoming a hero. And it's like, wait a minute, this is a member of the Sinister Six who tries to kill Spider-Man many, many, many times.
They hunt him down.
Hunts him and tries to kill him. So I don't know where they were going with this character or their plans for this movie. It is now coming out in December of this year. Theoretically. Funny enough, coming out on December 13th, Friday the 13th, really going to work out well for them. But this new trailer, I will say, was much better than the first trailer.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, the latest trailer for Kraven isn't hateful, but I will give
you still get a little twinge of the anti-hero stuff.
Well, when they first announced this movie, and I love the actor in this movie, I think he's the new James Bond.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson
played Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah, great actor. I really like him a lot. So I have super high hopes for this. But when they cast him, the rumor was in the synopsis of the movie before it was even being developed was that he's an animal conservationist and he's an animal lover and he's actually killing people that hunt animals instead of. And I'm like, guys, that right there sets the tone for an anti-hero.
Right.
Or
he doesn't wear a lion's mane around his body because he's an animal conservationist. He wears it because he killed that lion.
Correct.
Right.
And so the first teaser kind of was in that same vein. Now they came back and said, well, he's not really an animal conservationist. It's this and that. And the first teaser totally turned me off. This second trailer was okay. The fight
scenes, good action scenes, yeah.
Fight scenes are incredible. Looks really good. His power set looks really good.
He's wearing the lion
mane. He looks kind of more badass and a little more edgier than the original one. How he gets his powers is still unknown. How he gets this drop of blood from this lion that gets into his system,
which we saw in the first trailer,
really, this is ridiculous. But let's see. I know it's comic books, so it's all ridiculous. But let's see, let's see how this kind of turns out. But I'm telling you right now, if they go the anti-hero route and they try to make this guy a good guy and likable, like they did with Black Adam, like they did with Morbius, like they did with Venom, and all that. It's gonna fail, people. They need a true villain story, a true villain origin story where he is a bad
Well,
guy.
and again, I mean, the other side of it is, hey, let's just try to recoup some money here. We're not going anywhere with this character or this universe, so it's a one and done
We'll put it
situation.
out and see what we get, and let's throw it
Maybe
up
they're just
against the
trying to
wall
get
and
their
see
money
what
back. And
sticks. Yeah.
look, it is the holiday season. People are looking to go to movies and go to the movie theater to see something because it is the holidays. So who knows? Maybe, I mean, let's say they spent $200 million making it. If they make $250 million back, they're like, okay, it's a wash, right?
We'll see. It'll be interesting. We get a shot of the Rhino
Oh
in
my God,
this.
that was the coolest part of this
And
trailer.
I'm really glad they went away from the robotic Rhino that they had in some of the earlier films. This is the true comic book, somewhat accurate Rhino. And it looks
it
so
looks
much
cool.
better. It looks
Cool.
really
And that
good.
one scene where he like basically headbutts the
The
truck and
truck
it
and it
flips
flips.
it over. Oh,
That's what the Rhino, one of my favorite villains ever. So that's the Rhino we want to see. And I'm excited that they showcased him a little bit at the end there. So that's got my excitement level for this is still maybe a 4
yeah.
out of 10. 4 out of 10. And as it gets closer, it might get a little bit more. But
I'm now, especially with Sony, unfortunately, I'm now so
yeah.
I'm so like our excitement level about Madam Web was like a 2.
Yeah.
1 or a 2.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe it's kind of cool. And it ended up being a 0.
Yeah.
And so like I'm kind of concerned that if our excitement level is 4, we're going to walk in there going, God, I hope if it's at least a 3, I'm going to be like only slightly disappointed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's a 4, I'll be like kind of happy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. We'll see, but we
Kraven
got the
the-
trailer. Go check it out.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
actually was released on Marvel's YouTube page. So they're
Kraven the Hunter is one of Spider-Man's biggest nemesis. He is a phenomenal villain in the comics. And for them to kind of Sony fuck it up, excuse my French, but for Sony to screw that up, I just there's no excuse.
Well, and
for
his
it.
brother is and I don't know if they're doing this in the movie. We'll
He
find
is in
out.
the movie The Chameleon.
The Chameleon.
He was. There was
So
a shot of him in there.
yeah. So again, another Sinister Six member. We'll see what they're doing with that character. But
Right.
again, one of the other kind of side stories to this is that every time Sony uses one of these characters in their movies, it prevents Marvel from using them in their movies. So now they're going to be using the Chameleon, they're going to be using Rhino, they're using Morbius, and I'm sorry, Kraven, and now those characters can't ever be in a Tom Holland Marvel produced Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, what direction do they go in then, right?
And this is what I said online. My philosophy is don't sell the Spider-Man rights back to Marvel. Don't do it. I mean, keep them, Sony,
Well,
but hand over the creative steering wheel. Let them drive the creative the bus.
Well,
let
I
Marvel
think we've said this
design it.
before. I would argue that the money they made on the 3 movies, Spider-Man movies they did with Marvel, and again, Sony was getting the proceeds. Marvel
Yeah.
just got kind of like a slice of it or whatever, but this is totally the proceeds all went to Sony. I would venture to guess that the money they made on those 3 movies alone surpasses any money they made on any movie they've done by themselves. I mean, the 2 Venom movies, the Madam Web, Morbius.
Well, we have another Venom movie coming out this year.
I know, another
Yeah.
one. Yeah. So I'm just saying they made more money with Marvel in 3 movies than they did in 6 on their own.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to sell back the rights. Keep the rights. Just work out that same deal you did with Spider-Man and stop blowing these characters, blowing them up so that you ruin them, and you're not gonna be able to revisit them for 5 or 6 years.
Just to be able to have the creative freedom from Marvel's perspective to use the character where it fits instead of having to say, "Oh, we got to split the profits with Sony and all this other stuff." But it's like, wouldn't it be cool if Spider-Man showed up as a cameo in Daredevil Born Again?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I know, but wouldn't it be cool?
It would be great.
The possibility is great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the Deadpool and Wolverine, showed specifically the power of cameos. You don't have to have these people on
lightning
screen.
in a bottle.
Right. You don't have to have them on screen for 2 hours. You just need them on screen for 2 minutes and people are happy, excited about it. I mean, the first one, John Favreau, I mean, was just like, I was like blown away. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
So, all right. Well, Kraven, good luck to you. Friday the 13th in December. All right, let's jump into the news section. Crazy stuff this week. Your buddy, Beau DeMayo, more details coming out about his firing at Marvel, and things are not good here. And the reason why we're even talking about this, like we knew he was fired. He was fired back in March of this year.
Yeah.
And then ultimately even more stripped of his responsibilities or credits in the June timeframe. We saw him at Comic-Con. Theoretically, he was at D23 last week as well. He's not keeping himself, out of the public eye. We kind of saw him on the backside of the Marvel booth, so we know he wasn't there in like any official capacity. I mean,
No, but he was
who
at a lot of
knows?
signings. He was at the X-Men 97 signings with the other artists and the
Yeah.
other creators signings. He definitely had a booth there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure he's trying to recoup something, but look, here's the drama around this. I guess he's filed some kind of lawsuit against Marvel. And there was a kind of like a Twitter war back and forth between Marvel and him and his Twitter account. And it was kind of crazy, Tony, is that he's
bizarre.
been tweeting. I mean, he's very active on social media, but he was tweeting about X-Men 97 during the entire series.
Oh yeah,
And
promoting it.
he was promoting it on Twitter, and he was
been fired.
being given no credit for anything he did on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, his name was listed in the byline on the
Yeah.
show, but they were just nominated for an Emmy. That's how good this show was. Nominated for an Emmy for Best Animated Television Show. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's not been invited to the Emmys.
Yeah.
And so I think there was some bad blood about that and kind of spilled over on Twitter here the last week. And then the reports started coming out about kind of the details behind when he was fired and why. He made it seem like it was like something that all kinds of people at Marvel and Disney do all the time. And I shouldn't have been, reprimanded or fired for what I did. I mean, he made it seem so discounted, and Marvel's like, no, this was like bad. This was a big deal.
I think it was sexual misconduct, was
They
it?
said it was sexual misconduct.
Mhm.
And again, there's just been reports. There's nothing official come out from either side about this, but what we know for sure in June when he posted a drawing of himself in with shirtless with the Cyclops, uniform pieces on him for Gay Pride Month. And we know that Marvel wasn't happy about that. And we don't know exactly why they weren't that happy about it. But that's when they really put the kibosh on him. But he was promoting the show the entire time it was on. And then, we saw it was just, again, reports. It's hard to kind of describe this, but sexual misconduct makes it seem like it's a lot more than this.
Yeah.
And again, the story that is being told is that he was sending pictures of himself in very suggestive poses to male members of the staff and telling them to use it as inspiration during their job or whatever.
Allegedly, yes.
And this is all reports. Again, nothing
Right.
coming from both sides confirming it. But then there were also some unwanted advances towards some of the male members of the staff, again, reportedly, that caused his dismissal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, something that it was pretty bad. And again, there's other people that have worked with him in the past that have come out since then and said he's very physically and emotionally abusive to the staff. That was the other story that came out.
Wow.
And, I think he's obviously suing Disney and Marvel for libel and or not telling the truth. And he's basically come out and said, all I want is the truth to be told.
Right.
Look, this is not over, and it's probably
No.
going to get ugly.
Yeah, of course it's going to get ugly.
He wrote X-Men 97 season 1 and most of season 2,
Yep.
which we know is coming out.
But he's been scraped from season 2 completely.
Yeah, he's not going to be involved with it at all. He was one of the writers early on, hired to write a Blade script.
He was involved in Blade. Yep.
Yeah, and no longer with that project either. Look, I don't know. This is really bad and really ugly, and it's
We're gonna have to see how it pans out. His camp is stating that it is jealousy from other creators, that he was becoming more popular than the show itself. His following and his popularity was a giant shadow on the other creators and the other writers.
so that's what
For the
he's
show,
claiming.
that's what his lawyer has made a claim to. All this is rumors and innuendo. We don't know what really will come
Well,
out.
I mean, if a suit is filed and whether they come to a settlement,
If it was sexual misconduct, why isn't there like criminal charges against him? So things like that need to be answered.
well,
I'm sure.
did it rise to the criminal level? Who knows? But I mean, it could, if it was just whether it's workplace harassment or whatever, it may not be grounds for, criminal.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but it is grounds for dismissal.
Absolutely.
Right. In almost every company out there.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So interesting. We will follow it along. We did meet him at Comic-Con, took a picture, could not have been nicer to us. Although I posted the picture and I reached out to him and he never retweeted it, never commented on it. So that was kind of disappointing. So we'll see what happens, but we'll keep you
I mean,
posted.
obviously a talented guy. I mean, like X-Men 97 did get nominated any because of bad writing. I mean, it had great writing, obviously, and
How much of that writing did he do? How much
for
of it
season
was he?
1, I think it's almost all of it.
Well, that's allegedly, yes, that's what we know, but why were these other writers very jealous and saying that he was getting more credit than what he should have? So we'll see how that changes. That's going to be an interesting little storyline there. We'll follow it.
Yeah, it is an interesting story. That's what we can say. Um, Hey, good news.
Oh,
So
finally.
yeah, well, our topic of the week this week, we'll talk about D23. So between Comic-Con and D23, Marvel made a bunch of announcements, but there was a lot of holes in their story. They really chose to focus on the projects that are currently in the works that we
Right.
know of,
Right.
and nothing really looking too far out in the future. And I think part of that is because they've been burned by that in the past of, promising projects and dates that never came to
Really
fruition.
different announcements.
Yeah.
Really different.
There was no like, let me go over the next 2 years.
No.
At either
Except
place.
for at where we were at Comic-Con, they did step into
Only
the
two
future.
projects.
Only two projects, but they did step into the future. At D23, there was none
But
of
it
that.
wasn't, here's these 2 movies and every other movie that's going to come out between.
No.
So we know everything up into Fantastic Four releases next July. We also know that Marvel has dates reserved for movie releases well beyond that.
Sure.
Into 2026 and 2027. And
Yeah.
there are spots on their calendar that, and we think one of them now is going to be Doomsday and the other one is going to be Secret Wars at some point in time. But there's another number of spots in between
A
those
number of dates that they've nailed down as movie release dates, but we have no idea what those projects are. There's a
Right.
lot of speculation on what they could be.
Right.
We're assuming one could
always
be
assumed
Blade.
one was going to be Blade.
Right.
But there's been rumor and speculation around
Armor
Doctor
Wars.
Strange 3, Armor Wars, Thor 5, and 2 things that I'll tell you now. One we know won't be part of that. One we know is likely to be part of that. Simu Liu was recently interviewed and was asked about Shang-Chi 2, and he said, it's already happening. It's in the works. He says, I really can't say too much, but I'm excited to be part of the project and all this other stuff. So he basically confirmed that the second movie is coming out, what part of the process they're in, whether it's in they're writing the script or they're storyboarding or they're in pre-production. We have no idea because there hasn't been any official announcements, but he did come out and admit that it is not only happening, but he's excited to be working on it.
Yeah.
So
Shang-Chi 2
alluded to the fact that it's working. And we know the director, I'm going to butcher
Daniel. No?
Yeah. Is it Daniel Cretton?
I
think so.
I think so too.
So directed the original Shang-Chi movie, was originally tapped to do Avengers Kang Dynasty.
Yes.
And then when that project was scrapped, he was also removed from the project. And
well, I don't think that project was scrapped.
Well, he was
shit
removed.
the bed.
Well, he was
that
removed.
project shit the bed. That's
Well,
a technical term.
They've now renamed it to Doomsday.
Yeah.
So they just completely shifted everything. But
Kang.
Yeah, right. But Daniel Cretton was going to be writing and directing that movie. And again, there were stories or theories that he would do that movie as a back-to-back with Shang-Chi 2 and that movie. Well, Daniel Cretton is no longer involved with that movie, but he is still involved with Shang-Chi 2.
Yeah, that's great.
So again, Simu Liu confirms it. I would venture to guess that that is likely to be the movie that leads into Doomsday, just out of my gut.
Okay.
We know that there's going to be another Spider-Man 4 is going to be coming out probably in the 2025 I would say holiday season 2025 would be my guess, but
nothing confirmed yet, still just rumors. Yeah,
but Doomsday is May 2026.
Yep.
So I would think maybe that February time slot that Marvel has might be Shang-Chi 2 leading into that movie. So and for that to happen in 2026, they got plenty of time. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited about that. The other one, though, that they came out and basically admitted they're scrapping is anything around the characters of the Eternals. So as everybody knows, that movie was released during COVID, was met with very mixed reviews in regard to the cinematics were great, and I think you and I agree. Special effects and cinematics of that movie were fantastic. The scene
visually, it was spectacular.
Visually, it was a great movie. Suffered a little bit from character development. Some of the actors kind of seemed like they weren't really giving their character justice, type of thing. But was not. It's probably in the bottom 5 of people's Marvel movies of all time.
It's not in the bottom 5 of mine. I actually like that movie more than I've seen it recently. I rewatched.
I like it too.
I really liked that movie. It has some problems, but obviously it happened, and it's a huge part of Captain America 4, Brave New World, because Tietman Island is in that.
Right.
And adamant. I mean, they brought it up on it's in the trailer. So it happened in the MCU timeline. It's part of the MCU for sure.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's awkward.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some of those Eternals that are still alive end up in Secret Wars or Doomsday. I wouldn't be surprised about that at all. What this announcement is specifically saying is we're not doing an Eternals 2. We're just not taking these characters and giving them their own movie. Doesn't mean those characters are dead or they're not going to be used ever again.
We could see him in A Brave New World. We could see him in Captain America 4.
You just don't know.
You don't know.
And as a matter of fact, you and I will do a show on that one day. This movie specifically had one of the biggest teasers that have yet to be paid off. And that is that's a subject I want to make our topic of the week one week.
Are you talking
we'll just
about
go through all of the
Star Fox? You talking about
Star Fox?
Oh, I was talking about the Black Knight.
Well, 2 of them.
I mean, huge.
Well, Black Knight and Star Fox.
How do you? I still, that baffles me. How do you take
Kit
Harington announce him as Black Knight at the height of his popularity, Kit Harington with Mahershala Ali talking to him in an after credit scene? I mean, that blew me away.
Right. And it made us excited.
It got
neither of them have panned out yet, but the other one hasn't panned out yet either. They have Harry Styles come into a post-credit scene as Star Fox and Thanos' brother. But look, and again, we'll do that one day. We'll go over all the things they've teased but never paid off.
Yeah.
There's like probably 20 of them. But look, these characters, again, they have some pretty big name actors attached to some of these roles. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again somewhere.
In that same line, let me ask this and comment too. What do you guys think? Should they still have end credit scenes? Should they? Because no, I'm serious.
Well,
because
I'm laughing because that's what Ryan Reynolds said.
Oh, really?
He came out and said, let's go see a movie with an end credit scene that's basically a commercial for the next movie that's going to have an end credit scene that's a commercial for the next movie. So he was joking on the fact that that's what end credit scenes were.
They should have been. They should be.
But you look at the end credit scene for Deadpool and Wolverine, it wasn't any of that.
No.
But it was funny.
Yeah, it was great.
So Ryan Reynolds hates that stuff, by the way. Yeah.
they should because throughout the Infinity Saga, the Infinity Stone
worked.
saga, it worked. All those end credit scenes got you so excited for what was to come.
But it usually, here's the thing: the reason why it's failed. And they used to do it really well. When they did it really well, it was leading into the next movie.
Yes.
Or a project you're going to see in 6 months.
Yes.
Not something that was going to happen years down the road.
Correct.
And that's where they failed.
Agreed.
When they were doing it during the Infinity Saga, it was leading into the next movie, or it was leading into the next Avengers movie, or whatever. It was, I mean, we could list all the post-credit scenes and what it led to.
Yeah.
There have been, since Endgame, there have been end credit scenes in every movie that none of have been paid off yet.
Agreed. Well,
that's some of 3 years.
Some of them for fun. Some of them that were a foresight, foreshadowing into
we could go through every movie and we could talk about the end credits.
We'll do that. No, we'll do that next show.
Yeah. And we'll show where they've gone. They have gone nowhere.
And we've speculated that for the Fantastic Four, an end credit scene with Doom or something to do with Doom to lead into Doomsday would be huge. That's what I would like to see.
Right, but don't put like Mephisto in the end credit scene of Fantastic Four and not have Mephisto in the movie for 4 years.
Mephisto will be in Ironheart.
We don't know that for sure.
Well, he filmed.
We know he filmed scenes. We don't know if he's going to be in the show.
True. I'm not excited for that show at all, but we'll see.
All right. So again, Eternals characters may or may not see him in the future, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Speaking of our friends over at Deadpool and Wolverine, set a record this past week, becoming the highest grossing rated R film of all time.
Holy shit. Are those numbers real?
Those are the new numbers. So when it passed 1.08 billion, it passed The Joker, which was the highest grossing rated R movie of all time at that time. It passed The Joker early last week and now sits at 1.15 billion worldwide.
Whoa.
And that's through yesterday.
Wow.
Or Sunday. So yeah, still killing it, and it's not going anywhere. I mean, theaters are still selling tickets in multiple theaters every day for that movie, even though they've got new movies coming out every week.
Yeah, I'll probably see it again for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So a big, I wouldn't say kind of related story, but somewhat. So the 10th highest grossing movie of all time was the original Avengers movie, which came in at 1.5 billion, something around 1.53 billion, I believe. And that was number 10. Well, that just recently was passed this summer. Inside Out 2 is now sitting at $1.63 billion, and it moved into the top 10 spot of all time. You put out a good animated movie in the summertime, you're going to rake it in. There's no doubt about
With
that.
a good story, because several have failed this summer. But yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, look, keep going, Deadpool Wolverine. You get to 1.64 billion, and you will pass Inside Out too. So that would be kind of cool.
I think that'll happen.
Really?
Oh yeah.
If it's another month in the theater, it's a no-brainer.
Of course.
So the minute the theaters start dropping it, that's when we'll start to be concerned.
A great determiner of that would be to look at what movies are going to be released in the next month or so. If there is something that looks like a blockbuster, or
isn't the new Gladiator movie coming out soon?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So once that comes out, the drop will be
like
significant.
Off a cliff.
Yeah.
But you need that next new blockbuster to come out for it to
die off.
Like I said, I mean, it's now 4 weekends in the theater, and it's still being shown on multiple screens.
Yeah.
I mean, even the new movies that are coming out are not bumping it out of the big theaters. Right. So, hey, keep going, guys. I mean, you amazing.
That's good for future projects for us.
Well, and as we predicted on this show, being the only project that Marvel had this year, they put an enormous amount of money behind the marketing of this movie. They went on a worldwide tour promoting it. We were beneficiaries of some of the marketing they did for this movie. I think it paid off. And if they didn't make $1 billion, they were going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So we knew it was going to be a success. Some news that came out of D23, which I wanted to mention in the news section because it's not related to the media side of things. So for those of you who've been to Disneyland, California, in their second park in California, California Adventure, they built an Avengers Campus 2.5 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
something around that time frame. And they had a few cool things there. They would do a live show every now and then. They had a Spider-Man ride and a couple other things, and they'd have Avengers there taking pictures. Um, they are doubling the size of Avengers Campus. Are you trying to look at comments?
I'm trying. Yeah, I can't
No.
read that far.
No.
I have bad eyes. I need my daughter, Gabby. She left for school. She's a freshman. She left for college. She would be over there reading comments, but now she's at school. Hi, Gabby. I hope you're watching. Study
No,
hard.
I hope you're doing homework, not watching.
She hasn't started yet, but
I know what classes
I'm sure
start
she's
this week.
partying somewhere. Have fun, Gabby.
But yeah, California Adventure is going to double the size of their Avengers Campus. They're going to be bringing in a new ride, which is going to be which looks, the concept art was really cool. Stark Flight Lab, where you basically go around a conveyor belt on a two-seated capsule, and then a robot arm ends up picking you up and spinning you around.
What?
Yes.
Holy shit.
So looks really cool.
Dummy? Remember his robot assistant, Dummy?
Yeah, where you spray that on me. But yeah, so hey, someday I'll get out there and check out what they got going on in California. But hey, take advantage of the IP while you can and where you can, because you can't do it in Florida, unfortunately. That's right. All right, our topic of the week this week brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios, home of the main band Corn on the Cob.
Check them out. Check them out. Go to their YouTube. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to watch those guys create. So
all right,
check them out.
Go check them out.
Hey, Goat.
Hey, Goat. I want to go through for our topic of the week everything that was announced at D23. So you and I got to get a bulk of the big announcements at Comic-Con, and then just roughly a week later, they had D23 this past weekend in California.
Anaheim?
Yeah, maybe it's in California.
Yeah.
But anyway, big conference where, this is all Disney. So this is what D23.
Yeah, because the big announcements were at the Honda Center in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is where Disney, the company, makes all of its big announcements. And they go through everything from the parks to Lucasfilm to Pixar to, it's everything that Disney does. Disney Animation, all the movies and television programs that they own. In regards to Marvel, one of their properties, they do have a presence there. There were 2 sessions of substance from Marvel's perspective at D23, and one was the Marvel Studios presentation where we got a bunch of things.
A lot of it rehashed from Comic-Con,
which is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
they had a Captain America: Brave New World panel and showed the exact same trailer for footage, that we saw at Comic-Con. They had a panel with Matt Shackman, the director of Fantastic Four, but the cast was in London and they were remote. They had a panel talk about them, showed the exact same footage that we saw at Comic-Con. They did so what I want to say is, what's also funny is they had all these restrictions about, filming stuff at Comic-Con, but you put it in the Honda Center at D23, every one of these trailers has leaked online.
Oh, yeah.
So, the ones that we've seen, we're like, how come they haven't shown these to the public yet? Oh, well, maybe someday. When D23 came, you could watch any of these trailers right now on YouTube. Why not put a high quality version out on your channel? It just makes no sense at this point in time. So both of those leaked. And if you want to go check them out, I'm sure they're on YouTube somewhere. They did make an announcement about the Ironheart series. So again, we know this series was finished filming a 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
At least. And it kept getting delayed. Then it was officially off the schedule. We heard nothing more about it. Well, it is coming. And they did bring out Dominique Thorne and who plays the Red Hood?
Ramirez?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah. They brought them out on stage. They, talked to them about playing the characters. And again, they filmed this thing a year and a half, 2 years ago. So, I mean, they're 2 years older now. It's kind of funny, but they did show a teaser trailer.
Yeah, the teaser trailer did not,
which is also leaked online if you want to go see it.
Yeah, it did not get me excited. I'm not excited for this project. She gets kicked out of MIT for stealing stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's all very, I don't know. I'm not excited for this project at all.
Yeah. It seems weird.
No,
why you would potentially integrate Mephisto and the Red Hood into all this
is different, right? It doesn't make sense. But yeah, as it is, I'm not excited.
Hey, Ryan Coogler's involved. He's the executive producer on this series, so I kind of trust him. He's really done pretty good so far. So
I don't know.
All right, we'll see.
Wakanda Forever is. I rewatched that. Ooh,
my feelings about that. Yeah. We did though. Here, the good news about this session. We got a full trailer for the Daredevil Born Again series.
That didn't disappoint, did it?
That was good. So good.
Yeah,
and just
really
the interaction between Murdoch and the Kingpin.
Yeah.
And we did, and they brought the whole cast out, including our Punisher friend John Bernthal.
Yep.
And he was just excited to be back. So we, confirming that he's involved in the project, that he's going to be part of the series, which was kind of a really badly kept rumor for a long time. Look, I'm excited for this. They are going to be releasing it as 2 8-episode seasons. Originally, they were going to be doing like an 18-episode season.
Yeah, or 12 or something.
And they had to like cut it all. They'd like, no, screw that. So they did mention at D23 that season 2 is starting filming soon. So we know they're done with season 1. It's in the can. It's coming out next March, which is even better. We got a date behind this. I can't wait. And they also did confirm it is basically Netflix season 4.
Yeah.
They're taking everything's canon, everything that happened up until that point.
Yep.
Is going to be history for this. And boy, thank God.
Yeah. Huge decision. The right decision as far as fans are concerned.
Yeah.
And it's received so well online, and the fans are just all behind this. It's going to be great.
Well,
I hope. Fingers crossed.
And Kevin Feige gave Charlie Cox some pretty big kudos on stage. He says the best portrayal of a comic book character, the actor to give the best portrayal of a comic book character ever.
Wow,
is what he said. And
I walked out of the room with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds.
But I don't think that's far off from true.
Yeah,
Charlie Cox's Daredevil is about as good as you can get to play that character.
I get it.
Look at what Ben Affleck did with that character.
Yeah,
and then look at what Charlie Cox did with that character.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like Ben Affleck.
I know you like Ben.
Yeah,
I know you're part of the what is it called? They're getting divorced. We shouldn't say that anymore.
Oh,
Bennifer Lopez or whatever.
I like Ben Affleck. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But we got that full trailer. So go check that out if you haven't seen it. Again, this one is released on Marvel's page. So
yeah,
great service to the fans. They showed it at D23 and it was literally online like an hour later, which was great.
The hype level on that is off the chart.
Oh, it looks so good.
It looks really good. And the story, if it is season 4 of the first, the story will be there. The same writers.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But what was our biggest complaint about all of the Netflix series that they did?
So they had too many filler episodes. They were contractually
to give 13 episode seasons.
Yeah.
And there was way too much filler.
Yeah.
With an 8-episode season, I don't think there's going to be a lot of filler.
The pacing on this season, the pacing of this show will be much quicker, much more intense.
Perfect.
Yeah, it'll be good. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And again, actors who play great characters who I like watching, and I can't wait for them to be back on the screen again. This one highly anticipated. I think this one will set records for Disney Plus.
I hope so. Out. Yeah.
I think it will.
They need it. Disney Plus is struggling.
Well, they're raising our prices, so I don't know how they're struggling. And then we also the whole cast for Agatha All Along came out. As you know, this is Marvel's Disney Plus's next series coming out September, right? It was, been billed as a scary kind of thing. I know Tony's not excited. They did release a new trailer, gave us a lot more scenes, but really a lot of the same thing we've already kind of known about this series.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hocus Pocus. I mean, it's Hocus Pocus. It's a CW show at best. It looks like it belongs on the CW. It's charmed with some Marvel characters in it. I mean, and I love Catherine Hahn. I think she's phenomenal. I really like her. But she is not a lead in this show. I don't think it's going to work. I'm not excited about it. I love the fact that they wanted to get into the horror aspect of it, but this show, the different witches down Witches Road, and they're trying to gain
Oh,
her
and they have a
bar
theme.
back.
All of their songs were written by the people who wrote Frozen, and that was one of the things they were promoting at D23 was the soundtrack to the television show.
Hocus Pocus, Charmed. I don't, not even Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not even that cool. I just
Combined with a little Glee.
Yeah, exactly. Glee, like a scary Glee. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not excited about this. I hope I'm wrong. I will watch it.
Here's what Titanium I will promise you. We will watch the first episode. We will review the first episode. The frequency at which we discuss the following episodes will solely be based on the review of the first episode.
No question. No question. I'll watch the whole thing
eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was all Marvel Studios' big promotion. We did have a specific session for Marvel Animation, which I'm really excited about. So those of you who've seen some of the most recent projects they've been coming out with on Disney Plus, they do have new tags for each one of their projects. So the movies are now Marvel Studios.
Yep.
All of the television shows that are released on Disney Plus are now Marvel Television. Surprise. I mean, it's creative names. I'll give them credit for that. And all of their animated projects are under a tag of Marvel Animation. I know it doesn't seem like it would fit, but that's what they went with.
That's what.
So these are all the animated products coming out on Disney Plus, and they are all Disney Plus projects. Some of them rumored, some of them confirmed, but we got all the news about all the ones in the works right now. And look, I'm going to tell you, some of their animated stuff is some of the best stuff they've done on Disney Plus.
I agree. There's two projects in here in this list of announcements that I am not that excited about.
So let's go through them. So we did get some information about What If Season 3. Again, there was a teaser for this at the end of What If Season 2. And then there was a teaser trailer that came out a couple of weeks after What If Season 2 finished, teasing Season 3 and some of the characters we might see. A little bit more footage was shown at D23, including the White Vision, Ironheart, Moon Knight, Monica Rambeau. So we know some of these characters are now going to be part of What If Season 3.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, What If Season 1, slam dunk.
Yep.
What If Season 2, I would say was a B.
Pretty damn good, but not
animation. Fantastic.
Yep.
Storytelling, fantastic. Plot of Season 2, kind of, too much Captain Carter.
Yeah, it was based around Captain Carter, but still great season. I really enjoyed it. What If is a home run for me.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely.
So we know that we've seen scenes of there's a Gundam episode where all the Avengers are actually in mechs.
Yeah.
And that one looks really cool. So anyway, they showed a bunch of scenes. I'm looking forward to this. No information about timeline when it's coming out. I would think it's very similar to what we've seen from What If thus far. Usually comes out around the holidays, December, January timeframe, just kind of as a filler series. And hey, I'm great with that. So let's go for it. Next one was X-Men 97 Season 2. Again, we kind of alluded to this earlier. This was greenlit long time ago.
Looking forward to it.
Well within the works.
Yep.
The two things they announced at D23 were that one of the primary antagonists for the season is going to be the character Danger, ripped right out of the X-Men comic books. I think it was during who directed the
And
Avengers?
Apocalypse will
No,
be
no, no. Who directed the
for what?
original Avengers? Josh Whedon. When he was writing the
Uh-huh.
X-Men, he's the one who created the Danger character, I believe. I don't think it was Grant Morrison. It was one of the two. But anyway, there's a character called Danger, which is, I think people familiar with the X-Men know they have a danger room, which is where they go in and practice against holograms of
Right.
their enemies and stuff. Well, that danger room becomes sentient, ends up creating a robot body for itself, and is friendly to them, and then ultimately not so friendly to them. Um, and that's going to be a big antagonist for the season, as well as the return of Bishop, who kind of went forward in time last episode. We never know where he went. He didn't ever show up again. Well, now he's back this season, as well as Apocalypse will be part of the storyline. We saw a big teaser at the end of season 2, so I'm looking forward to this. I mean, again, one of the best parts of this animated series back in the 90s was it took stories directly out of the comic books and put them on animation. They continued that with this past season, first season X-Men 97, which is better animation. And I'm looking for more. So this is
What if season 3 winner, X-Men 97 season 2 winner? Yep.
Eyes of Wakanda. Ryan Coogler came out and talked about this one. So this is a project that he's running, focusing on the Dora Milaje, kind of protecting vibranium over time. And I think it's like kind of different eras that they're going through here. And they said it's going to be a 4-episode series following these Dora Milaje as they protect vibranium. We know that there might
time travel.
I know. I don't know if it's time travel, but
I think it's time travel.
Is it time travel?
Yes.
Well, that would be then not so good.
No, I'm not
excited. They run into a very old version of the Iron Fist at some point in time in this series, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But anyway,
still not excited.
That one announced, and some footage was shown from that as well.
I just think some concept art was shown. I don't think any.
It was. I think it was stills, like not animated, concept, but animated stills. And then they showed some footage from Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So this was previously announced as Spider-Man Freshman Year. It's now being branded as Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Did you see the footage?
I did not.
Okay.
I'll ask you about it here in a second, but this is supposed to follow Peter Parker, like his freshman year of high school, before the events of Spider-Man Homecoming. Might be an origin story about how he gets his power, some other things. But what did you see in the footage?
I saw some, allegedly, maybe it wasn't the real footage, but I saw footage from this, and I do not like the animation style.
It's very comic strippy.
Yeah, I do not like it at all. Like it bothered me to the point where that's all that stuck in my head, because I'm looking forward to this project. I'm really looking forward to an animated Spider-Man.
But the animation style is not good.
No, I don't. It doesn't appeal to me. So let me know your thoughts when you see it. And yeah, we're off of TikTok Live. We always get kicked off for some reason. It's probably because of my mouth. I probably cussed and they probably shut me down. Whatever. Sorry, TikTok, but fuck yourself. I mean, I didn't say that.
But the animation style is just wonky.
Yes, I not like it. Check it out. Yeah. See what you think. I'd love to hear your opinion.
But we don't know when that's coming. I think rumors were that was going to be coming out sometime the end of this year, but no official announcement. And we did get some early footage from Marvel's Zombies. So this was an animated program that they announced way back in 2019 as kind of a follow-up to What If Season 1, Episode 5, I think was a zombie episode. Yeah. And they were like, all right, we need to do Marvel Zombies. And we got some footage from this. And it's very early. They say they're just starting on this. So this, I would think, is something that's maybe 1 or 2 more years down the road. But they had Shung-Chi in this.
Yeah.
And he's got the 10 rings on one of his arms that's zombified. So the entire arm is zombified, but he's got the 10 rings on that arm. So maybe protected it from happening to the rest of his body. Really cool. But anyway, I who knows? I mean, if you have some superheroes that are hunting other superhero versions of zombies, and that's kind of like what Marvel Zombies was in the comics. I'm kind of excited for this.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. We'll see. It's too early. I need to see some footage of it. But yeah, if it's anything like the What If animation style, it's going to be awesome.
That was a great episode of What If, too.
Yeah, it was great.
Zombie World.
Yeah. All right, Professor. Let's ring the bell. Let's shut it down.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
Corner on the top, the man.